And welcome back to Washington Commanders Insider. Today, we are looking at a hypothetical trade that the Commanders might want to explore. And so, we're going to jump into this particular report that suggests that the Washington Commanders should maybe go after Hasson Reddick. And would that potentially help the Washington Commanders on defense? And so, one of the things that I like that is brought up in this particular piece is they say, well, look, the Commanders could use an edge rusher after going ahead and dealing Montez Sweat and Chase Young at last year's deadline. And so they're saying that perhaps this would be something that the Commanders could add to their front line to potentially help their edge rush. And so when I think about it, I'm saying to myself, like, yes, the Commanders could use some edge presence for sure. And I think that this would certainly help when you look at what Dan Quinn wants to do. I think just being able to be aggressive. And I think that when you add a player like Hasson Reddick, I think that that gives you a natural kind of pass rush as well. So I'm not sure that you necessarily have to get pretty exotic with blitz coverages and things like that to get him home. So I definitely like that. And then as far as the secondary, which I think is one of the worst units on the team, I do think that this particularly does help you there because if you're able to generate some pressure up front, obviously then that's going to help you on the coverage side of things. You're not necessarily going to have to stay attached to receivers as long because, well, that quarterback's being pressured, being flustered. He's probably going to give you some errant throws and give the secondary an opportunity to make plays on that. So certainly that's going to help your secondary look good. The problem is that when you bring a player over like Hasson Reddick, I think the real problem is he wants to be extended. And so would Washington be willing to go ahead and pay Hasson Reddick once he gets over here? Because I think that that's one of the deals that's currently going on with him and the Jets is that, once they got him over, he wanted to be extended, I think, on his contract. And I think that that's something that I'm not sure the Washington Commanders are going to want to do. It does talk about the fact that he did hold out for that. And in this particular package, they were saying to get Hasson Reddick, you would send over Emmanuel Forbes and then also a fourth round pick in order to get him. And so, look, Emmanuel Forbes, I'm not necessarily sold on with him just yet. I know he's going to be on the IR with this thumb and ligament tear, but it doesn't look like he's necessarily going to really pan out for the Washington Commanders as an elite corner. And I'm all about going ahead and trading him to the Jets. I just don't know if he necessarily is something that the Jets are going to want back. I would expect for them to want another player besides Emmanuel Forbes. Even though that defense is elite, maybe they could turn Emmanuel Forbes Jr. into a very good player over there. But I just think that, I mean, that type of deal, it seems to be more favorable for the Washington Commanders if they were to make that type of deal. But I do like the possibility of adding him alongside Deron Payne and Jonathan Allen. Again, I think that they were probably one of the bright spots on defense last week against the Buccaneers. I thought that they were pretty good up front. I just think that they gave up a lot of splash plays on the back end. So certainly I think that if you were to add Hasson Reddick next to a Deron Payne and a Jonathan Allen, I think certainly that is going to help you there. You still have Bobby Wagner and those guys in the middle of the field. So yes, I do like it. I just don't know if the Jets would necessarily bite on this particular deal. And then would Washington be willing to go ahead and pay Hasson Reddick? So with that being said, now we're going to look at the next half of the show, and we're talking about the adjustments that the Washington Commanders are looking to make against the Giants. And so one of the things that was talked about just a couple, I think a day ago from Dan Quinn is he was talking about that the Washington Commanders need to have a little bit better communication pre and post snap. He felt like that was really the issue against the Buccaneers last week in saying that their communication was off. And that cost them big on some plays. And so I definitely think that communication is going to be huge against the Giants. It is a good thing that we are playing them at home. So hopefully we get some of the crowd noise is kind of out the way so we can get that clear. But it looks like that is something that has been the point of emphasis for the Washington Commanders moving into this game versus the Giants. And I think that they are going to have to be on the same page. I think that if the Washington Commanders are on the same page, I think it gives them the best chance to go ahead and get a win that they should get against the Giants, because I think the Giants are pretty terrible on offense, and I think the only way that they're going to be able to get some wins against our defense, even though our secondary is pretty bad, is going to be some miscommunications. It is going to be some blown coverages and things like that. And that's something that I think when you can correct the communication standpoint of things, that should help the Washington Commanders as far as being effective and winning this game against the Giants. And so, with that said, I love that Dan Quinn is going out here and he's addressing the mistakes that the Washington Commanders have had a week ago. That ability to self-assess, I think that is going to be critical for Coach Dan Quinn in year one, because a lot of this is going to be just correcting on mistakes that the Washington Commanders make. I don't know if it's necessarily going to be a situation where you're going to get some personnel like a Hasson Reddick, or they're going to go out there and make a splash free agent signing. At this point in time with this group, the best thing to do is to make sure that you get the basics down, all right, and get your program set for the next couple seasons, because that's really what it's about for Dan Quinn. Yes, you want the Commanders to be able to compete at a high level this year, but you also want to be able to take a step and build off that as he continues to go out there, continues to get the draft picks that he wants, brings in the players and personnels that continue to fit this system that Coach Dan Quinn wants to run. It's going to be important that you're going out there and you're self-correcting. And so that's hopefully one of the things that we see going into this Giants game. I talked about it on yesterday's show that the Buccaneers were able to take advantage of our defense in some trip formations and things like that, with having those three wide receivers and then kind of faking a screen and kind of going deep and lighting us up that way. And so I think that this is going to be another interesting sign to see if, like, Dan Quinn is really getting through to his players, right? Because that is all about communication. That is all about correcting your errors. And I'm curious to see now, like, let's see the Washington Commanders come out here in week 2 against a Giants team that they should beat and be able to clean up their mistakes. I mean, I think that over half of this game is going to be won by the Washington Commanders not beating themselves. So let me know in the comments what you think about this possible Hasson Reddick deal, if the Washington Commanders should explore that. And what do you think about Dan Quinn and his recent comments? Do you think that that is going to get home to the Washington Commanders team, and we are going to see a better group this Sunday against the Giants in their home opener? Let me know in the comments what you think. This is Washington Commanders Insider. I'll see you on the next one. Peace.